From Gordon's death in The Dark Knight to the use of human batteries in The Matrix, there are some things in movies that make no sense. Here are a few movies that were so good we even ignored their massive plot holes, starting with the epic Jurassic Park. I mean, who doesn't love this classic movie? The special effects were groundbreaking for its time and the storyline was gripping, but when you really start to think about it, there are a lot of plot holes. For example, how did the T-Rex manage to sneak up on the characters in the Jeep without making a sound? And how did the Velociraptors learn to open doors? But let's be real, these plot holes don't take away from the thrill of the movie.
Dr. Grant?
Next on the list is The Dark Knight. This movie is a masterpiece, there's no denying it. Heath Ledger's portrayal of the Joker was absolutely brilliant, and the action scenes were top-notch. Given how famous the movie was, I think only those who analyzed the film noticed that some dots just didn't connect. For starters, how did Batman manage to survive that fall from the building without any injuries?
Let her go.
Very poor choice of words.
Let's not do that again.
It's not like he's not human like Superman. And how did the Joker manage to rig two different ferries with explosives in such a short amount of time? But again, we forgive these plot holes because the movie as a whole is just so good. The next movie was such a hit when it came out that it took people some time to notice the inaccuracies. The Matrix blew everyone's mind when it first came out. The action scenes were incredible and the concept of the Matrix was mind-boggling. But did you ever wonder why didn't the machines just kill all the humans instead of keeping them in pods and using them as energy sources? Or how Neo unexpectedly gains superhuman abilities with no explanation? While there could have been a better explanation for these, the movie was awesome just the same. Moving on, we have the timeless classic Star Wars: A New Hope. This movie is a beloved favorite for many of us, and not everyone noticed the massive plot holes like us. Did you ever think about how the Empire didn't realize they were building a weapon with a fatal flaw that could be exploited by a small fighter craft? And how did Princess Leia manage to hide the Death Star plans in R2-D2's memory banks without any kind of encryption or protection? But despite these plot holes, we still can't help but be swept away by the epic space battles, the lovable characters, and the sweeping score. While the next one isn't a sci-fi movie, its action and storyline was no less amazing than Star Wars. The Avengers brought together some of our favorite Marvel superheroes for the first time and delivered some of the most epic action scenes we've ever seen. But this superhero blockbuster had some major plot holes. For example, how did Loki manage to steal the Tesseract from S.H.I.E.L.D.'s most secure facility without any resistance? And how did Tony Stark know how to fly a nuclear missile into space and survive the explosion? But we all were too busy cheering on the Avengers and enjoying the witty banter to worry about these. How can I complete the movies without another classic action movie, Die Hard? Bruce Willis's performance as John McClane is iconic, and the movie is filled with memorable one-liners and thrilling action scenes. I mean, everyone loved the thrill of the chase and the climax that left us all on the edge of our seats. However, if you really think about it, there are some major plot holes. For example, how did the terrorists manage to take over the entire building without any resistance from the security guards? And how did McClane manage to walk around barefoot on broken glass without passing out from the pain? But we were all too busy taking in all the explosions and gunfire to notice that anything was out of the ordinary at the time. If you don't know the next movie, then I'm sorry to say that your childhood was lacking a little. I think everybody knows the beloved animated classic, The Lion King.
It's the dodo. Oh, I know.
Oh, just look at you two, little seeds of romance blossoming in the savannah.
This movie has captured the hearts of generations with its unforgettable characters and powerful story of redemption and forgiveness, but it's still on this list for a reason. What we didn't understand was how did Rafiki know how to find Simba after he ran away from the Pride Lands? And how did Scar manage to take over the Pride Lands so easily when he was clearly outnumbered by the other lions? But we were too busy singing along to Hakuna Matata and rooting for Simba to take his rightful place as king to worry about these plot holes. Now, we have the sci-fi epic Interstellar. The producers really outdid themselves. They blew our minds with their stunning visuals, incredible performances, and a mind-bending plot that took us through wormholes and black holes. But let's be honest, there were some things that just didn't add up. For example, how did Cooper manage to survive in the Tesseract at the end of the movie? And how did the black hole serve as a portal to another galaxy? But it still managed to take us on an incredible journey through space and time that left us breathless. Moving on, we had the beloved rom-com Pretty Woman. We all fall in love with the charming and funny Julia Roberts as the with the heart of gold, and Richard Gere as the successful businessman who falls for her. I'm sure this is still a go-to movie for some of us even today. But did you ever wonder how Vivian knew how to navigate high society and fit in at fancy events? And how did Edward manage to overlook Vivian's profession and social status so easily? Well, we can't deny that the chemistry between Roberts and Gere and the feel-good romance of the movie is just too good. Another sci-fi movie that deserved more awards than it got, Inception. Nothing short of a filmmaking masterpiece with amazing visuals and a gripping story. Inception was one of the biggest hits of its time. It's no wonder that no one noticed how Cobb managed to convince so many people to join him in the dream world, or more specifically, how does the physics of the dream world work? But once again, we're too busy being blown away by the movie to really care. How can I end the list without The Shawshank Redemption? This was a powerful story of hope and redemption, but there are some pretty big plot holes here. No matter how many times I've rewatched this, I just can't seem to figure out how Andy manages to dig a tunnel out of his cell without anyone noticing. I mean, he did all that digging, and you're telling me there was no noise or sign of anything out of place in his room. And how does he manage to get the warden's signature on his fake identity documents? But I was also too busy being moved by the emotional journey of the characters to worry about the details. Last but not least, we have Back to the Future. This movie is a classic and will always hold a special place in our hearts. The storyline is fun and engaging and the characters are lovable. But with the current time travel movies, I've got to admit, some things make me go like, what? For example, how did Marty's parents not recognize him as their son when he went back in time? And how did Marty manage to have a conversation with his parents without completely altering the course of history? I mean, we all know that changing anything in the past also changes the future, but that didn't apply here. But again, we forgive these plot holes because there's no feel-good movie like this one to watch during family night. And that's it for all the movies for today.